Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I'd take this moment to recognize any visitors that would like to address the Board of Adjustments, but seeing none, we'll move on to minutes for April 26th of 2023. Is there a motion? Or any discussion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of April 26 as presented.
I'll second it, sir.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving along, looks like we have no old business, so on to new business. Cynthia Main, this is a request for a conditional use permit for short-term rental in a B2, a major business district zone with the address of 414 Chestnut Street. And usually Amanda, if you want to just give perspective.
I sure will.
Yep.
Good evening, Commission. So the property address is 414 Chestnut Street. As the chairman stated, it is in a B2 zone. So on the aerial imagery, it is this end building here. And the space that the applicant is considering is a second-story loft that was recently renovated, I would say probably about 1.5 years ago. And we have sent all notices to adjacent property owners as required, and the applicants are here to present.
Excellent. Okay. So we'll come on up, and since this is a hearing, we'll have to take an oath and swear in, and just you'll have to pick one of the mics. And Amanda, do you want to?
Yep,
the
I will
honors?
swear you in. You'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Your name and address, and what would you like to do?
I'm Cynthia Main, and I appreciate you all gathering tonight to hear us, commissioners. I was living at 414 Chestnut Street, but as of last night, I live at 1594 Scaffold Cane, just outside of town. Yeah, and one thing of note, just before we go too much further, since you have it in this picture, Whitaker Bank has offered to let us use the 2 parking spots where you can see the red and the gray car. They were formerly used by Brian Hall, who was the previous business owner, and they said they don't have a problem with us using those spots. So that's our permanent parking for the Airbnb.
Okay. But nothing official in terms of written agreement or anything?
We could get it in writing if it makes you all feel better about it.
She did present some pictures, so I'll just flip through those. Of course, this is the front of the building, and the bottom is their business, so Sunhouse Craft. And this is just some photos of the loft space. Again, you can see recently renovated, and it's 1 bedroom. And how many square feet is the loft space?
1,000 square feet.
Okay. So as the board knows, we base the occupant load by Kentucky Building Code, which requires 200 square feet per person. So it would allow for an occupant load of 5, but I'm not sure if you have any stricter requirements that you would propose. Because it's 1 bedroom, would you
We would be
allow 5?
surprised. I mean, it would be a rare circumstance. I can't imagine, but
Okay.
you know, it's also upstairs, so you know, I think that'll cause some limitations too. Not everyone's going to want to stay there.
So again, 1 bedroom, loft space. And then just as a reminder to the board, some of the things that we have put as conditions on previous short-term rentals were 10 p.m. check-in times, 2 off-street parking spaces, which she has addressed, that the conditional use stays with the property owner, and again, just occupant load based, maximum based on 200 square feet per person.
Who owns the vacant lot next to that building.
The bank. People, Whitaker Bank,
Whitaker
yeah.
Bank.
They're also our bank, so they're very aware that we're doing this too. And we're happy to answer any questions about the apartment. I meant to bring a before picture just to brag on it, but
Is there more than one way to get in to the back or the front?
the entrance is, the back has a separate entrance. There was a quick photo of it. It has its own separate entrance in the back. There's a hallway that leads, there's a door off the hallway both to our shop and then a door off the hallway. And you could also come in through the shop, through the front door, if the shop were unlocked.
Where those two parking spaces are, is it well lit? Because that is a back
It
way.
currently is not, but we could make sure it's well lit before we put it up for rental. That would be no problem.
Okay.
And is the front part of that, is that accessible? Can you, is that usable space?
What do you mean by, are you talking about the rooftop?
Yep.
That's one of the requirements. We are also finishing putting up a fence around that area, and we won't rent it until that area is fenced.
Yeah, so one thing we've talked about is adding a guard across here. So this roof actually slopes down right here, and just, I happen to be the one that did the building inspections, so I just happen to recall what that looks like. You can see it a little bit in the picture. So if you're standing at these, I don't know, French doors, whatever you want to call it here, you probably, it's pretty tall at this point, but at some point about in here, it becomes where you probably would need a guard or something. So just, you know, we want to provide fall protection there. So either, what we've talked about is either just a rail across here or a rail across here to keep somebody from going off that walking surface.
We have plans for the fence that we'd be happy, I didn't bring, but we'd be happy to bring those, or we know we have to get inspected before final approval, so
Oh, and that was that.
that was it. Short
That
and
was
sweet.
that.
So
There
Amanda,
we go.
does that impact our decision on this?
It won't, because they are required to have life safety inspections
Okay.
before they can occupy. And so that's something that we would look at, and we just wouldn't approve that inspection until that was done.
We're also paranoid, and I wouldn't even consider opening that up to the public without that there.
No,
Yeah, I think that's a liability issue.
I actually had a friend fall off of a roof, so let's,
Does that roof drain well in a storm?
does it what?
Does it drain well in a storm?
It does. We actually built a deck on piers. It's a system from this company, Bison Innovation, that's built to be on a slope roof. So it's essentially on adjustable piers. So the deck is floating essentially, and then the water goes below the deck.
And just curious, how big is that space?
The exterior space? That's a good question.
I can give,
Talking about the deck or the whole roof?
I'm talking about the deck.
The deck we're only planning on going about a third of the way out. So we weren't planning on, yeah, about like that.
about like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say probably 400 square feet. 16 by 20, is that what? Okay.
So you wouldn't run it all over the edge, because it being a party house, you could hang over the edge and
No party house.
Well, David, you mentioned an interesting thing
It's
because,
not a very
That's-
big
that's-
party with no more than 5 people there.
well, I was gonna say, right, like,
It takes two to have a party.
just because, so if it was set at a 5 occupant limit, would that preclude somebody from having, you know, a group over for dinner, say? And it doesn't seem like we've had an application quite like this, where it does look like it potentially could be, right? Does everybody think, like, a place where somebody would really like to gather as a
well,
group?
no, I can see that.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, so that would be a fire marshal, or fire department enforcement, where the occupant load is set at 5 by the building code, and in those cases, no different than if there were where's the occupant load of this room? I think it's 100 in this room. It would be the fire marshal to come in if they had 150 or 200. You know, where you really have overcrowding. In those overcrowding situations, that is the agency that does the enforcement of that overcrowding. In these kind of cases with homes, or with particularly single-family dwellings, what we see is, there's generally not an issue if those people just come over for a short time, for dinner, for whatever. It is more about the sleeping
Okay, right.
of those people. But I do think that would be the instance where, this could be the instance where, you know, somebody observed 20 people on that roof, they might make that call. And that would be the enforcement agency that very much could go and say, this is only, you know, the occupancy for this space, which is listed on their certificate of occupancy as 5. Fire department gets a copy of those, so they know what the occupant load, or they can easily find out what that maximum occupant load is supposed to be.
So in that case, if the occupant load is 5 and there's 20 people over for dinner one night, 15 would have to leave if there's a complaint?
I think if there was a complaint, yes, I think that is something that can be enforced. But again, nobody's monitoring that unless it's a complaint, unless it's.
Right. Well, which I guess is another reason to stay back there near not hanging over the edge.
Not hanging over the edge on
Probably
Chestnut
thinking like
Street.
I am, you driving down the road and 20 people water bluing you right off.
We hadn't really considered 15 people coming over for dinner. I think we've had over 2 maximum in the last year that we've been there, and none on the roof. I'm like, wait, people have cars?
No, I just,
Well, yeah, people, yeah.
it's a neat place.
Yes, it is. It's beautiful.
That's good.
Would there be any other issues with respect to the load on the roof?
We-
Again, without a structural analysis, there would be no way to determine that. I feel safe that, having inspected the structure, because of how it was used in the past, I feel, and I've seen those structural elements, I wouldn't have any problem with, again, the occupant load that we allow on that roof. But there may be some concern if you get a lot of people up there.
Well, but that's not really our concern.
No, it's not our concern.
I think yeah, having been in that roof extensively, I think 5 people seems fine. We never thought about a party happening up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Entertain a motion if we're ready, or?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use request for a short-term rental at 414 Chestnut Street in the B2 zone, with the stipulations there's no more than 5 people, 10 p.m. check-in time. Those 2 off-street parking spots are available all the time, and that the conditional use permit will remain with the property owner if it's sold. And also, the fence that you talked about, but that doesn't have anything to do with this, but the lighting back there, please.
Glad to do it.
All right, Danny's made a motion to approve a conditional use for short-term rental at 414 Chestnut Street with a 10 p.m. check-in time, an occupancy limit of 5, that there be 2 parking spaces available off-street, and am I forgetting anything? And that it stays with the property owner, so it would be void if the property were to change ownership.
And additional lighting in the rear.
And additional lighting in the rear. I didn't bring a pen, so thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Is there any further discussion or a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
And just for your all's knowledge, when you get all those things done, you're gonna call our office for a life safety inspection. And then, it is subject to transient room tax.
Okay.
So you will need to, you probably have a current business license, you'll just need to, sometimes Airbnb collects them, you can choose for them to collect it, or you collect it.
Okay.
If you're gonna collect it, you'll need to get with our tax administrator.
Probably let them collect it just for ease's sake, unless there's a reason not to.
Okay, yep, I don't know all the details of the,
I don't, yeah, we
the
haven't
transient
gone there
room
for
tax,
yet.
yep, yep.
But we'll get there.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Time, everybody. Appreciate it.
We had a meeting on May 24th, you and I were here,
Oh, here.
Josh. She's-
I have torn it up.
I think we approved it.
Oh, no? Oh. You know what? I have just observed that perhaps we had approved the April minutes? Is that? Okay, so, so we have, those would have been approved in May. So it's brought to my attention that we are actually looking at the minutes for May 24th of 2023. And seeking approval of those minutes.
I would like to amend my initial motion to approve the minutes of the May 24th meeting rather than the April.
Motion made.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the May 24th, 2023 minutes. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?